Hello, everyone. Cut this off. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for joining me today. I am in OBS, so I actually can't see the feed right now. So I'm not sure, what's being said. But definitely let us know where you're coming on in the chat today. And really engage with this content. It's a little bit out of the ordinary from the normal content that I put out there, but I wanted to come on here today to specifically communicate to pastors. I know both on my Facebook page as well as on my LinkedIn that a lot of pastors follow me and I'm friends with, and I want to just share a little bit of value with you all today. We just got out of Mother's Day, so I know that a lot of pastors, they are going into sort of the summer mode. So, and if the year hasn't gone the way that a lot of your churches would have wanted it to go, I wanted to kind of give some value, some training based upon some of the work that I've been doing, and just wanted to add a little bit of value to you all today. Don't plan to be with you all too long, but I do want to share some value with you. I do have my assistant in the chat right now, so she will be able to engage with you all and answer any questions that you have. Her name is Marlette. But I'm going to go ahead and share some of my slides today and just wanting to share some of this with you guys right now. So just give me a second to pull up my slides, and we're going to go ahead and get started on today. So the topic that I'm going to be sharing with you all today, and again, this presentation is really geared towards pastors specifically. So if you're not a pastor, feel free to stay in the chat. But this is specifically for pastors. And the topic that I want to share today is the 4 simple shifts to supercharge your volunteer base. And I'll give a little bit more reasoning for why I chose this topic today, later on in the presentation. But I have seen, and data is showing us that this is probably one of the biggest pain points for pastors today. One of the biggest pain points that they're dealing with. So I wanted to give some content and some value that will help with this particular issue that pastors are going through. So let's go ahead and dive into the material. Again, who is this for? If you look at this chart here, the top stressors of U.S. pastors. So Barna, they are a huge research firm, and they conducted a study on pastors specifically, and they researched, and this is a very recent study. This was just done a little bit before, right at the end of last year, and they asked pastors, what is the biggest thing that is stressing you right now? Like, what is the biggest thing that is causing you the most grief? And the number one thing that pastors spoke about or referenced was not having enough volunteers. That was actually 51% of the pastors when they asked what was the thing that was stressing them out the most. They said it was not having enough volunteers. So obviously, with COVID and everything that happened with that, pastors had to adjust a lot during that time. For the most part, everyone's pretty much out of that quarantine mode, that mode of not being able to have in-person gatherings. But there have been lingering effects that still affect us today. And one of the biggest things that it has caused that effect or is affecting us is this idea around volunteers and not having enough volunteers. So that's really why I wanted to address that issue particularly. There are a few other issues here that I plan to do some presentations on in the near future, but that's the area that I really want to focus on today. So in the next 45 minutes, and I don't necessarily believe or know if it's going to be that long, but these are the four things that I plan to address or talk about. Number one, recognizing the essential role that systems play in ministry. That's a big one that I've seen. I work with ministries literally nationwide, um, and from various denominations, various different backgrounds, various sizes. And the role of systems, I believe, have been underutilized or misunderstood, and that's something that I really want to address today. That's one of my bigger points that I'm going to be talking about, but really referencing and focusing on systems. Um, Number two is discovering your ideal volunteer. When I look at a lot of the material around volunteers in churches, etc., I don't really see anyone really emphasizing, really building out that persona or building out what it is that volunteer, like what that ideal volunteer looks like. And I want to kind of show you what that looks like to really build out what who your ideal volunteer is and what that can look like for your ministry. Number three, create a clear path for that volunteer. So once you really identify what that volunteer looks like, creating a clear path for them, and then finally confirming the data that you collected. So this sounds really technical, and I'm going to give some real examples of what this can look like. And I've actually had the opportunity of helping pastors walk through this process several times before. We've done some beta tests on this process, and this is really a game changer when you understand what this looks like. So I'm really excited to share this content with you. But that's my promise today. I'm going to show you the four simple shifts to supercharge your volunteer base. So that's really that's my goal today with this presentation. That's what I plan. That's what I plan to do. So I'm looking forward to sharing this with you. So want to start out kind of like, does this sound like you? Managing multiple ministries post COVID has presented challenges in finding committed volunteers. Limited staff has hindered the organization of activities, making it difficult to effectively manage church ministries. Insufficient involvement of people creates hurdles in the efficient management of church initiatives. So, many pastors can say that this is what they're going through now since COVID and all of the various lingering effects that has happened since then. But the main thing is, a lot of pastors are feeling overwhelmed and frustrated, trying to figure out their church's next steps, trying to get their church out of that stagnation. There are a lot of ministries that are experiencing stagnation. They're not really seeing the growth that they want to experience. And many pastors are worried about their church's ability to get out of this position that they're currently in. So this I know is on the hearts of many pastors, and this is a challenging time to be a church leader. So these are the things that pastors are dealing with, and we recognize that we understand that. So once you make these shifts and once you get this clear understanding, you're going to experience a renewed sense of energy and excitement for ministry as you jump out of bed each day. You will experience exponential growth in your ministry and make a profound impact on your community, changing lives forever. That's what I believe, that taking these things and really practicing them, there's a really easy layout that we can go through with these shifts. And I believe that this is going to help you make an extreme impact on your community and in your ministry. So, just a little bit about myself. I'm a husband. I'm actually next month, we're celebrating our 10th year of being married. We have a 9-year-old daughter. I have 10 years of full time ministry experience. I am also the owner of a marketing agency. Specifically, I've worked with ministries, but not just ministries, all different types of businesses, and also am a church planter. So many of the things that I'm talking about, I also have experience in personally. So really excited to share this content with you all today. So let's just dive into what these shifts are and how we can really implement them in our ministry context today. How we can really implement them. So let's start with shift number one. And shift number one, there's a lot of content here. I think I mentioned, and Marlette can let you know in the chat, but we have a PDF from all of these slides. So if you are interested in getting access to that, please let us know. We can email them over to you, but we just want to let you know that all of this information is available on PDF, and you can get access to them, once you give us your email. But the first shift in this process is assess and develop a systems mindset. And it sounds kind of technical, but I'm gonna really break it down. But the first part is assess, and we'll get into what that looks like at the end with the takeaways. But developing a systems mindset is so important in ministry. It's so important. Andy Stanley, which he probably pastors one of the largest churches in America, and he says this: the systems you have are perfectly designed to get you the results that you're getting. Like, let that sink in. The systems that you have are perfectly designed to get you the results that you're getting. That should be sobering. There's actually another book, I believe it's called Atomic Habits, that say that we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. So in many ways, the way that we design our ministry and the systems that we design around that, those are the critical things that will allow us to get the results that we want to get. If you're eager to witness transformative change in your church's community, it's critical to focus on retaining the people you reach and narrowing the gap of the back door. To achieve this, it's essential to address the systems or lack thereof within your church. So I want you to think, what are my systems? Like, what are my systems for worship, for instance? What are my systems for ushering? What are my systems for children's ministry? What are my systems? Really thinking through, and many churches have systems in place, but then we want to see, are these systems effective for our volunteers? And let's tie this into our volunteers and the people that come and serve at our churches. The reason why systems are really important are not just for the growth of our ministry, but also for the clarity for our volunteers. We, as the leader and the staff, we are the ones that are supposed to create the systems for our volunteers to flourish and for them to have success in the role that they're playing. So we are the architect that develops the layout for what a successful volunteer is. And if we don't take the time to really address that on our end, then they are going to be the ones that end up feeling frustrated. They're going to be the ones that feel like they're not able to fulfill their role. So we really want to get clear about how we're going to design these systems and what it is that we are going to do in order to really utilize them to get success in our ministry. To reach your leadership potential and ensure church success, adopting a systems mindset is essential. The entire leadership team must embrace this approach. Without healthy systems, the church will face challenges in achieving its goals, resulting in decreased effectiveness and unutilized potential. So again, really thinking through our systems and the infrastructure of our ministry, writing down, documentation, not just, leaving it up to chance, but really being thorough and thoughtful in the way in which we put our ministries together. This is like absolutely essential. This is the key. This is the difference between having a growing church and having a small church. The understanding and the implementation of systems. So very short, but the takeaways are the key in this portion, really all of them. But here are the takeaways. These are the things that you ought to think through, understand, address inside of your ministry. So 5 takeaways, really, really important. Here's the first one. Assess the number of ministries required to operate the church on a weekly basis. So I want you to think through, what does it take to operate our church on a weekly basis? Like literally put a number on that. Like in order for us to have a successful week, how many ministries do we need to have in operation? And then furthermore, how many volunteers do we need to support the church's operation? So how many ministries do we need? So worship ministry, ushering, volunteers, security, the list goes on. It looks different for every church, but it's important that the leadership can put a number on that and say, this is how many ministries we need to operate. And then this is the number of volunteers we need to operate on a weekly basis. Literally putting a number there is very important, because then you're no longer, just making assumptions, but this is what we need. Like this is the bare minimum. If we just had this many people volunteering a week, everything that we need to do to, fulfill our mission, to reach our goal, we will be able to reach it when we have that specific number in place. So knowing the number of ministries and the number of volunteers required to get the job done, those are the things that we have to have in place in order to do it. We want to have a number. We want to make that number as specific as possible. Number 3, create or fix systems one at a time. Focus on one aspect at a time. And number 4, begin by addressing the biggest problem or challenge first. So when we look at all of the ministries that we have, everything that we have, what is the one thing that we say, okay, this problem keeps on happening, these issues keep on being addressed, whether it could be, on the worship slide, the words are wrong on the worship slide. That's not a people problem, that's a system problem, because systems can address that problem. If there is some issue that happens in the foyer, or whatever issue that you see happening, maybe there's an issue in children's ministry, whatever it looks like, every single issue that happens inside of a church on a weekend or online, anything that has anything to do with the ministry, a system can solve it. Documenting, okay, this is what we need to do to solve this problem. If there's an issue, you can create a system to make sure that issue doesn't happen again. And you keep on addressing it until that issue gets fixed. And whether it's, but we can't just say, okay, I just need better people. Or I just need, if only I had more money or more people or more of this. All of that's fine, but if there's not a system in place, if you don't define the win, let us know what it is that we need to do, then we're still going to have the same issues. More people and more money is not going to solve that. So it's really important that we understand that. And then number 5, progress through each segment methodically with intentionality. So we go through each of the systems until we have a something that's running that is efficient and that's helping us to reach our goals. Ultimately, what systems are designed to do is to help us to reach our goal as a ministry. Whatever that vision is that you have for your ministry, whatever your mission is, right? This is not simply, just pragmatism, right? This has theological foundations and roots in it as well. Because if God has called you to do a certain thing, then you have to approach it in a systematic way. That's the way that God approaches things. You look at the way that God created the earth. He created the earth in a systematic in a process, right? He divided the light from the darkness. He put the stars in place after that. Everything that you see God do on the day of creation was in a way of systems. And as a ministry, we ought to have a systematic approach to the way that we do ministry. And having a systematic approach does not mean you're not being led by the Spirit. It just means that we are doing things in a way that is systematic. And when we adopt this process, when we adopt this mindset that whatever we want to see done, we have to write the vision and make it plain, that those that read it can run. When we approach it that way and say, I'm going to make the people who volunteer, these are not employees. And if they are employees, you still need a system. You can't just say, I'm paying you, so you need to know what you're supposed to do. Come on, somebody. That is not the way, that is not a smart approach. And honestly, this is not something you can really delegate to anyone else on your team. Like the leader has to be the one that comes up with this plan and tells the rest of the members and the rest of the ministry and the rest of the congregation what a real win looks like. So we have to adopt this mindset as ministry leaders, that we need to have systems in place that can let the people who follow us, let the people who are a part of our ministry know, when you do this is what a win looks like. This is what a win looks like. So right off the bat, this shift is going to exponentially supercharge your volunteer base. Because people follow clarity. People follow clarity. People want to know what you want them to do. That's the big idea. It makes no sense just assuming everyone knows what they're supposed to do, especially if they're not on staff and they're not being paid to do it. So assess and develop a systems mindset. That's the first shift. Let's get into shift number 2. Shift number 2 is create a volunteer persona for one ministry at a time. And this this may be a little bit of a different step, but just follow along with me. Like intrigue this idea. So now that we've assessed our ministry and developed this systems mindset, we're thinking in terms of system. We're thinking in terms of process. We're thinking in terms of this is what I want to see done. And I, just to go back to that point, you can have systems even if you don't have a lot of money or a lot of people or even a lot of assets or all the things that people say that you need to do to have a successful ministry. That is like we can begin thinking this way before we have a lot of those things. We have those things in place, and then we have to say, okay, for each of these roles, for each of these ministries, what does the ideal person look like for this ministry? And how do we discover, like, what is this look? This is what is called a persona, which means you basically you create the idea, like this concept, this person, and you literally identify them by these five different things. So you look at their identity. How do they identify themselves? The demographic. What is their demographic like? Where are they coming from? You know, what do they look like? Their family status. You look at all of these various traits that they have, and you begin to write it down. Like the type of person that's going to run this ministry looks like this, right? And this is the way that they would be identified. You can even give them a name, and you can do that for every single ministry that you have. So you look at what does it take, what ministries does it take for us to fulfill our mission? What ministries do we have to have in operation in order for us to fulfill our mission? And then what we want to do is we want to say, okay, what type of person will we need to lead it, and what type of people would we need to fulfill those roles? Does that make sense? So you figure out what do we need in order to fulfill our mission, and then what people do we need in order to fill those roles, and look at what type of person we would want to have in each of those categories. And we do this before we even actually begin to pursue and fulfill the strategies to actually find those people. We want to know like who we're really looking for, right? I think that's really important. That's something that a lot of times we overlook. We sometimes we get into this place where we're so desperate for anybody. Anyone can fulfill that role. We want anyone singing. We want anybody, greeting. We want anyone. We'll put anybody in children's ministry. Come on. Even though they are not they don't meet the qualifications. They're not someone that would actually flourish in that role. They don't even like the role. But we're just putting them there because we need someone there. We just operate off of need instead of actually operating in a way that's actually going to help us fulfill our mission. All of it goes back to our mission. What is it that God has called us to do? All of what we're talking about here is wrapped around that concept and that idea. So we want to find the person that fits the role, and we want to begin to search out for that person that would fit that role. But we want to identify that person, before we actually go out and look. So we want to find, okay, what type of greeter do we want? What person would help? The greeter ministry is so important. Who do we want? What type of person do we want in that ministry? What type of person do we want leading worship? What type of person do we want as the youth pastor? What type of person do we want as the children's pastor? What type of person do we want in all of these various roles? It's extremely important that we get clear on that. So that's why we develop a volunteer persona. And if you want one of these documents, like I said at the beginning, reach out to us and we'll send you a PDF for that you can use, and you could just print it out for all of the various ministries that you have. But this is really important because it gets us to identify who it is that we are wanting to reach. So, again, reach out to me if you would want this document, but we're going to move forward. So, the key takeaways from this: create a volunteer persona for one specific ministry. And again, reach out to me. You can email us that right there, and we can get you this information. Now to the third shift. So we have developed the systems, we've assessed, we have discovered who our volunteers are. Now we create a path to get to that volunteer. And we actually use this process in our program that we just developed called the Ideal Disciple Discovery Guide. But this also works for volunteers inside of your church. And we want to look at the four areas. We want to look through, like, when is our ideal volunteer the most aware? When are they the most interested? When would they be willing to take the next step with us in actually volunteering? We want to gather a lot of this information and begin to ask that because I think sometimes, a lot of times, we just assume that once we find somebody that they're just that they we can just pick them, talk to them, they can join one of the ministries, and that's that. But we want to think through this process a little bit more because we want to consider this role or this ministry in a bit more of a process type of way. And we want to think about this person in terms of what it is that they're after, not just about us. And I think that's sort of the purpose of this journey, of this of what we're talking about here, is we're actually putting that volunteer ahead of our own interests. And when we do that, I think that's going to help us have a lot more retention when it comes to our volunteer base, because it's not just about getting them to volunteer, but actually getting some retention out of it. So answering these questions that are in this map, that's what's going to be a game changer for the ministry. And that's what we really need to think about and talk in and consider in this third step. So creating a volunteer persona journey for our volunteers to go on. So that's the third shift. The key takeaway here: develop your first ideal disciple or ideal volunteer map. And then, again, for more resources, contact us and we can get you access to this information. So we have assessed our ministries. We have developed an ideal, or we've developed our persona for our first ministry. We create a map. The last shift that we need to take in this process is to assess, or rather to verify, if the data that we collected is actually true. And the way we can do that, the way we would go about that, is through a all church survey. Actually giving your church a survey. And what we're talking about here, like, this could be a survey that you can give your ministry through your through email. If the church comes together, you can give them a survey. But I think this is a really powerful thing when it comes to really, supercharging your volunteer base, because it gives your people an opportunity to express their thoughts, to express what they're interested in, gaining insights into the opinions and the perspectives of your congregation, enabling the church and its leaders to face reality and address any area of concern, assisting leaders in making strategic decisions based on survey results, and you're able to facilitate the comparison of opinions among different groups within the church. So once we have created this sort of fictitious map or this idea map, then we're able to confirm it by actually surveying the members of our congregation to get them answers. Basically, there's all different types of questions that you can ask members of your congregation in this survey, but the idea is to get insights from your congregation on where they're at, what interests that they have, and begin to build a strategy around some of the answers, or at least allow those answers to give some feedback into the strategy that you're developing. So you bring all of these together. That's what's going to really give you the strategy or the process to really take your ministry, the volunteer base of your ministry, to the next level. All of this has to deal with clarity and building clarity around your ministry. So the fourth shift, and I realize I went pretty fast. We're not going to go into too much detail on any of this. This is really just meant to give you some sort of a map or a trail that you can go on, but we're not going to get into too much depth today. But the idea today would be to create an all church survey. We have some recommended resource for you if that's something that you're interested in doing. But that's to confirm, where we use that survey to confirm that data and to move forward. So that's what that was a very short live, but that's what I promised today. To recognize the essential role of systems and ministries, to discover how to find your ideal volunteers, to create a path for your volunteers, and to learn how to confirm that collected data. So, what you need to win. Number one, you need to assess and develop a systems mindset. Assess and develop a systems mindset. Number two, create a volunteer persona for one ministry at a time. Number three, create an ideal volunteer journey map. And number four, confirm the data with an all church survey. So those are the four shifts I believe that can really help take your volunteer base to the next level. And I also wanted to introduce the ideal disciple discovery process. While I was here, this is a new program that we developed for ministries. I've been working with ministries online for the past 3 years, and have worked with literally nationwide, worldwide, dozens of ministries, dozens and dozens of ministries. Wouldn't be surprised if it's 100 at this point. But we developed this process really because we believe that there was a hole in the market for a very systematic approach to really helping churches get clear and creating marketing strategy around clarity. Creating a marketing strategy around clarity. I have worked with countless ministries where it's really like, okay, build a website. Okay, get us more views online. Okay, awesome. That sounds wonderful. But if we don't know who we're trying to reach, then a lot of it is just throwing it against the wall. There's no real process. So what we've done is we said, okay, what is the most key information that we need in order to get a church clear? Because once a church is clear, then they're going to experience real momentum. sustain momentum. So we're not just talking about tactics. We're not just talking about, um, you know, new trends. We're talking about reaching your people, the people that God has called you to reach. Because every ministry is not called to reach the same people. Every pastor is not called to reach the same people. So we want to get clear on who your church is called to reach and build a real comprehensive marketing strategy that will help you reach them. So, who is this for? For pastors who are seeking a proven strategy to maximize their ministry and reach their community. Why are we doing this? Because we believe that no church should remain stagnant. I just put out a video just the other day on the statistics around American adults who want to grow spiritually, and it's probably my best performing video that I've done. It's on Instagram. It's far outperformed any other video that I've done, but I think it's just to show us that there are a lot of people who want to know about God. There are a lot of people who want to have a relationship with God. There are a lot of people that want to experience God and experience that renewal in their life. There's a lot of people wanting that right now. And what is the church doing about it? We're fighting about politics. We're fighting about a lot of different things. But who are we really engaged in reaching this mass audience that really wants to hear the good news? That's what this program is for. Because we don't believe that churches should be stagnant. We believe that when a church gets clear about who they're called to, that unifies the church and that gets the church focused doing the thing that they're supposed to do. And that's what this program is for. An 8-step process, a 60-day, 8-week program. It's not something that will drag out forever, but a real comprehensive program that will help get a church to the next level. And if you're one of those pastors, I have a full plate. I'll be honest with you. I have a full plate right now. My agency's doing well. I don't need to take on this is not me saying I need to get a whole bunch of new business. My business is good. I'm doing this because I believe that this program can help take a church that is now stagnant and get them on fire again. That is what this is all. I don't know, my light must have said amen or oh me. I don't know what it was, but that's what this program is for. I believe that this can be the ticket that can get a church unstuck. I've been a part of churches that were in revival, and I've been a part of churches that were comfortable. And I could tell you without a shadow of a doubt that a church that's in revival, that is on fire and clear about their mission, there is nothing like it. There is nothing in the world like it. And I want pastors to experience that, because I know there are a lot of pastors right now that they feel defeated. They feel like there are times they regret ever going into ministry. There are times they just wish they would have done something else with their life because they had a legit call from God and then they got stuck. They got stuck. And they wanted to experience, they had a call from God. They knew what God wanted them to do, but they got stuck. And I I would not be putting this out there unless I believed without a shadow of a doubt that this program can help any church get unstuck. I believe that with all my heart. I really do. And it's not for everybody. I'm looking for the pastors who are desperate and say, I want a real change. I want a real program, something that will really get us to the next level. I am tired of staying where I'm at. I am tired of not making a difference in my community. I'm tired of feeling like if my church went away, no one would care. That's what this is for. Pastors who are passionate about their mission and want to see a difference in their life, in the life of their community. They believe that they have an answer to a problem that their community is facing. That's what this is for. So I'm gonna put it out there. I believe that my assistant is in the chat. I can't see the chat right now, but I'll look back over after the live is done. But um, there is a link available if you want to book a session with me and say, let me hear more about this program. Then set up a call with me. We have a free PDF also available for you to see, get a little bit of a better look of the different things that we go through to really get a church clear. It's comprehensive, but we have figured out a way of making it as seamless as possible. But once you have gone through this program, you will it really is a game changer. I honestly believe that. I really do believe that this process is a game changer for any church, any pastor, anywhere that goes through it. So you can take the link. I believe that it's available in the chat. But that's the message. I hope this was at least somewhat helpful for you, and consider partnering with us. We only have a few slot selection. Like I said, this is not for everyone. I don't believe everyone can is ready for this type of program. It's definitely something that's comprehensive, but I do believe that if you are ready, that if you do believe and want to go to the next level, that this is a game changer for you. So, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Anyone that even gave me any bit of your time, you did not have to. I don't take it for granted. No one has to give us anything today. Usually, I wouldn't put this on my personal page. This would usually go on my business page, but Graystream wasn't connecting to my business page, so I said, I'll go on my personal page. So I appreciate everyone that joined us today. And I'm grateful. Again, if you're interested in learning more about it, please let me know. And God bless you. Thank you so much. And everyone have a great evening. God bless.